Thank you, Emma. Hi, and welcome to the session. For those of you that have been here before, I apologize, you're about to see some very similar slides. But so this is my introduction to Power BI, and the data is all about tea and biscuits, a very British topic. So let's convince PowerPoint to play ball. There we go. So it's a bit about me. I am active on Twitter. I've got a blog, Hatful of Data. Yes, I'm a Terry Pratchett fan, so Hatful of Sky is where I nicked it from. And I have almost exactly a year now. I got my MVP for business applications, so it covers my specialities cover Power BI and other Power Platform topics. So today I am working off data that is, so that QR code, for those of you who want to be able to see the data that I'm playing with and kind of follow along, that should take you to, let me see if I can get this to the right pages. Let's see if my laptop's going to play ball. No, not that screen. I want that screen. That should take you to this page here, which is my blog. And there's a page here. It's not got a lot of information on it, but I will add some extra things on the end here. But here are the two data sources we're going to be playing with today. So tea production and favorite biscuit, which is totally fictitious data. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation for a moment. So that's where that QR code will take you. I will also, I don't think I can put anything in chat. Maybe I can in a moment. I'll put links up to the data sources as we go as well. So let's move on. So Power BI, okay, creating reports. This is what I do day in, day out for a variety of clients. These are the 5 stages I go through all the time. So get access to your data, transform your data, make it in the right shape, and make it look workable. Then do the modeling, which is putting in relationships, putting in some calculations, putting in some measures. And then comes the fun bit for most people, the visualization, doing your charts, your slices, everything you need to do. And then the final bit is publishing it to share with your users. The only bit you need a license for is the last part, the publish. Okay, so if you want to publish and share, you've got to have at least a pro license. Or your company has to be, actually no, you need a pro license. So it looks quite straightforward and simple, but actually it's not, doesn't work quite like that. If I click again, there we go. So there we go. This is a little bit more accurate about the amount of time it takes. So getting access to data, if you work for a large organization, best of luck. Okay, it seems to me the larger the organization, the more difficult it is to get to the data. Because you've got to go through all the politics and all the other things that go on. Sorry, I don't have a solution for that, apart from make really good friends with your DBA, buy them biscuits, write that Christmas card now. Transforming the data, tidying up the data is a skill that you need to learn, or you need to find somebody else that knows how to do it. Modeling the data is a separate skill. It kind of overlaps the transform. Visualize and publish are the last two, and to tell you the truth, if you get the two before it, i.e. model and transform, right, visualization is easy, and publishing is clicking some buttons and understanding where you can put your data, and that's the important part, but it's really easy once you understand how it all works. So before you do any of that, the most important question is to actually work out, why are you doing this report in the first place? Why are we bothering? We can all produce a report covered in charts. We can all do that. That's not a problem. Okay, we've all been able to do that in Excel for decades. But if they don't answer a question, there is no point. Okay, so you need to actually come up with a reason for doing what you're doing. So here are my questions for today. So where is tea produced? Where's tea grown around the world? It's not all grown in China, which I assumed China and India, that was it. But no, the rest of the world has tea as well. They grow tea as well. And then I made up some fictitious data. What are favorite biscuits? And is age a factor in biscuit preference? So the biscuit data is totally fictitious people. And I sat next to my one of my adult children and went, "God, list me biscuits that you like." And so that's how I came up with the list of biscuits as well. So it's all made up. But the tea is actually going to come off a website. So we've got our tea data coming off a website, and then it's going to go through Power Query and into Power BI. I need to update the slide because that icon has changed. Anyway, Excel is then going to go into Power Query and also into Power BI. Oh, I forgot I put some animation in here. The Power BI icon has changed, and they've got these 3 towers. I do want to change them into 3 bears, but hey, I haven't found an artist yet to do that. But anyway, moving on. Let's move on to demo. So Power BI updates monthly. Okay, so Microsoft put out a update every month, and in the last couple of months we've had some really good updates come through. And normally you'd kind of think December is going to be the quiet update, but I've heard rumors that December's is going to be quite cool. November's has only just come through. But so here we are in our report. Okay, and this is a completely empty report, and you get these what they call watermarks in the middle, which gives you some quick ways to get to some data. There's a sample data set, which is some finance data. Unfortunately, it's quite old finance data. I wish they had some data which was based around today's date, but they don't. Okay. So the first part, if you remember back to my diagrams a moment ago, was to get some data. So the first one we're going to have a go at is the web data. So I'm just going to go to my web page here, right click and copy the link. Emma, just a really quick question. In live Q&A, I've got a completely blank pane. Is that normal?
There are a couple of comments in there in the live Q&A.
Okay, let me just reload it and see if it comes back up. Nope, I am getting completely blank in Q&A.
That's in the published.
I can't even see published and unpublished. I've just managed to click on the wrong thing.
There's no questions through anyway, so I can read them out to you if you like.
Okay, thank you very much. So guys, please do feel free to post up questions, and I will pause occasionally and ask Emma if there are any. So I just copied a web address. So we're going to go and get data, and I'm going to go to web. And asks you for a URL. And so there's my URL of where tea is grown. So I then click OK. And now what it does is it goes off and it loads the website and it searches the website for tables. Okay. And if we go it'll show me in a minute. I'm going to show it by the table that it's looking for a table. It's not going to find one. Okay, but it tries, and I don't think I could stop it. Maybe I can. Oh, I can. Didn't find any tables on this webpage. There aren't any. Okay, so if I go to add table using examples, what it will then do is it'll load the website at the top there, so you can see what it looks like. And this web page is mostly text. Okay, so let's just wait for it to load up because then I can. So here we are, where tea is grown, the top 62 countries. So let's just click the got it on cookies. And if I scroll down, you'll see there's lots and lots of bits of information here. But then here is my information that I'm looking for. That 01 China and a tonnage of how much tea, okay, they produced. So, and if I scroll down a little bit further, There's lots of pretty things. And then there's a part about India, etc. That's the data I'm going to get out. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to worry about column names because I'm going to have to muck about with columns lots as they go. So what I do is I put in an example of what I want the data to be. So I want that to say 01, click in the right place, 01. And you see, it gives me hints of what could be there. So I'm going to go for the China. And it hasn't quite got it. So let's put in a 0 again. And this time we'll go for India. So the second one. And when you've done that, it then goes, I understand what you want. And there you go, it scrolls down and it gets them all. So I am from that's enough information. I'm going to click OK. And what it's come up with is custom tables. And I am then going to click on transform data, which will take me into Power Query. Which of course is opened in the wrong window. Let's bring that into the right window. So here's the Power Query, okay, and here's my information, here's my data. So what I want to do is I want to extract some pieces of information. I want the country name and that number. So Power Query, to me, one of the most powerful things that there is in Power Query is a thing called column by examples. So I'm going to click on that column. I'm going to go to add column ribbon. Okay, so there's ribbons across the top here. And there's a column from examples. And I'm going to drop that arrow down. And I'm going to go from selection. So what it's got is my original column here, and it's got a new column here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to double click on where it says column 2 and rename that to say country. Felt right. And then I'm going to type into here, that top one should be China. And there you are, it seems to have worked, okay? But if I scroll down to Sri Lanka, okay, I've only got the beginning of that name. So I'm going to go into there and I'm just going to put in that I want both parts of the word. Wait a minute, I also want a space in there, okay? And there we are, it's fixed now. Myanmar, I'm probably pronounced that wrong, my apologies. Papua New Guinea has also got all of its name as well. So that looks good. We've got some blanks down here, but we'll sort that out in a second. And let's click OK. So there you are, I've got some countries. I now want to get the number out of there. Now it's got commas in, which might seem a problem at the moment, but let's see if we can fix that as well, because commas it sometimes interprets as text. So I'm going to pick that column again, and I'm going to go to column from examples and from selection. And in this one, I'm going to put in the column name production. And then the number here is going to be 1939457. And then I'm going to press return. Now, it didn't quite understand what I was doing there, so sometimes you have to give it more than one answer. So 1208780. And there we are, it's now managed to guess it. And if you look at the top here, it's done quite a whole lot of work there to try and get that number. I'm scrolling down, and we've got some down the bottom here that don't appear to have numbers. Oh no, that. So that's Australia, the first one that doesn't have numbers, and that's fine. So we're going to go with ones that don't have production. We're going to get rid of in a second, but let's go with that for a time being. And look at that amount of M that's written across the top. Let me show you places so you can see that in other places as well. So when I click OK, so there we are. We've got our add column, and it's put in this code. So I've got a formula bar showing. You won't by default have a formula bar showing. On the view ribbon, there's a formula bar tick there. Okay, so I'm a coder by training, so I like to see what code's happening behind the scenes. Every time I've added a step, over on the right hand side here is the query settings. So at the top here is the source, and that's my original website. And then it's extracted the data to get us to there, and did some data changing types. And then here's my 2 steps, and I can click on each step and see it progressing through. Now, if you look down here, this looks okay, but if you look at the top there, it says ABC production. Okay, so I want to change that to be a number. So I click on the ABC, and here are all the data types it could be. Now, these are all whole numbers, so I'm going to click on whole number. And there we are, we get our production there. Now, if I scroll down, there were some headings here that weren't quite the same format as these. They didn't have tonnage in and stuff. I don't really want those. Okay, they're not relevant. And if you look, they're all null in here. So the next step I could do is drop that arrow down, and I'm going to untick null, and then click OK. And there you are, it's put a filtered rows step over here. So there you are, I've got my country, my production, and the original data. Now, coming back to these applied steps, there are a number of things you should know. Okay, so ones that got little cogwheels on them, they're the really good ones, because those I can click on the cog and it'll show me what it's doing. A little dialogue will come up and help. The ones that don't have a cogwheel on, change type is a classic one for this one. That's what the 2 change types are here. You can't change them easily. You can go in and change types and it will update this step, but you have to rely on it doing it for you, or you have to go and edit the M code. Please be aware. One thing that Microsoft is known for in all its products is undo. Okay, we all rely on undo. And if you delete a step, so I'm going to go up to this one up here, because this one doesn't actually, it's text beforehand and it's text afterwards. So that one doesn't actually do anything. So I'm going to delete it. Delete the step, that's fine. There is no undo. So there's no way of bringing back that step. So if you can't remember what it was, tough. Okay. So do be careful what you're doing. The other thing you can do is, so that one there is my getting my country out. So I'm going to put in, double click. So that's not what I wanted to do. My apologies. Right click, and I can click rename. So I can put in, I can come in here and I can change that to say country. So you can rename your steps. Just remember, this is code that you're going to have to look after and you're going to have to be able to edit later. So when some of my queries have 50 to 100 steps, so you have to think about it. The other thing, okay, if I right click on that step and I go to properties, there's a description box. So created by column from example, and click OK. There you go. I've added a comment, and you'll see there you get a little I, which if you hover over, it tells you what that comment is. Okay. So let's go to my last step. I've got one more thing to do, which is choose columns. And I'm just going to get rid of column 1 by unticking it and click OK. So before I go and move in to loading this data, are there any questions, Emma?
There is one question that came through from Aman, which is it dynamic? If the website's data gets updated, will the value change automatically?
So yes, and no, which I know doesn't help answer. So yes, there's a refresh button up here, which will go and refresh the website. Okay, and when I go and do close and apply, and it comes through to here. In here, there is also, so it's refreshing at the moment. Oh, I didn't rename table 1. I will in a second. There's a refresh button here. So I can refresh this report by clicking a button anytime. When I publish it up to the service, I can specify scheduled refreshes. So I can specify when it's going to refresh. Now, the danger here is if they rewrite that page and restructure it completely, my query might break. Okay, they don't know I'm accessing their page, so I do have to be a little bit careful here. But yes, we can do a refresh up there and it will go and get all the data again. Okay, I'm just going to rename this table 1 by double clicking on it and calling it T data or T production. That's a better description. So I'm actually going to do no modeling on this particular one because I've only got 2 columns, but let me show you a little bit around Power BI. Now we've got a little bit more data. I can click into, so on the left hand side here, there's 3 buttons. So I'm going to click onto the next one down. And there we are, we can see our data. Now I can filter, I can search and sort, etc. in here. It doesn't do anything to the report, it doesn't filter it in any way, but allows me to go and check and look at my data. The next one down is relationships, and the relationships here, I've only got 1 table, so there aren't any relationships at the moment. We'll come back to this upgrade now when we've got some data and some things to play, some more data, and we've got some things to play with. Okay, and I'll talk about what that change is. So let's go back into our T production. So the first thing I'm going to do, okay, branding. Companies get really, really excited about branding and making sure everything's right. And I am not a visuals person, I will confess, but I found some really good cheats to get me to look like I've got a report that I know what I'm doing with visuals. So, this is a gentleman called Chris Hamill. He works at Microsoft, but also writes a brilliant blog. And on it is a thing about doing backgrounds. So let's put a background on this page first, and then we'll worry about putting on some visuals. So my background I created using Chris's suggestions and things in PowerPoint, and then saved as an image. So click onto my format. So here we've got some fields and then a format button, the paint roller. So page background, and there we are, there's an add image. So I'm going to click add image, and there we go. I've got 2 backgrounds in here. I've got one which is tea leaves, pale grey tea leaves, and one which is biscuits, tea and biscuits. So I'm going to click tea background and click open. And annoyingly, it doesn't show. Okay, and this is because the default is that your background is 100% transparent. Don't ask. It's a bugbear with me all the time. But anyway, there is a little handle there, and I can bring it back. And there we are. We've got a background. But I know my background has a title at the top, and this means my background is too big for my report. So here's my image fit. Instead of normal, go to fit. And there we are, it fits it on the page. And there I've even put in a title that says Tea Production. Okay. So now we're gonna do a really simple one here. We're going to put in a map with production. Okay. And we're then going to have to improve it because it comes up a little bizarre, but bear with me. So there is a map here. So these are all the visuals that you can have, and there are lots of them. They're all the ones you expect: column charts, pie charts, everything you want, tables, grids, etc. But I'm going to go for a map. So let's go for a filled map. And see, with this here, I can do things like just drag that out. And what we're going to do onto this is we're going to add some information. So I'm going to add in the location. I'm going to put in the country. And I'm then going to put in, so there we are, there is a map of the world with your countries all highlighted. Now I realize there's a couple in there that actually, if you go and look at my data properly, there are a few there that need a bit more tidying up, but I decided that wasn't necessarily required for this example. And I'm going to pick up production, and I'm going to put that into the legend. Legend means colors. Okay, so if I click that into there we are, we get a different color for every country. Well, that doesn't really help because that doesn't really tell us anything, because all those different numbers are different colors. So we need to come up with a range. Okay, now I could click transform data and go back into Power Query and do it there. That's one place to do it. And that, if you have a huge data set, that is the best place to go. This is a small data set. This is, I mean, and by the way, when I say huge, I mean a million rows kind of style. This is a small data set. So I'm going to show you a way of adding a calculated column here in desktop. So we're going to go to our data, and we're going to add in a new column. So here's my two columns, and I'm going to add in a new column. And we can go to, if you look here, under column tools, there's new column. Okay, and I'm going to put in here to production level equals. Now, this language is a language called DAX, and it's basically Excel with extras. Okay, it was originally based off Excel. So let me just do I'm going to claim it's for production. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I'm going blind slowly as I get older. By the way, that was a control and mouse wheel to zoom in, or control and plus does the same thing. So we're going to do a if, and you see it gives you help here. And look, the if is exactly the same as your Excel. So the test result if true, result if false. So if you press escape, it stops giving you help, which is sometimes helpful. And if I start to type in production, you'll see that it gives you the name of the table with the name of the column in square brackets. So if the T production is over a million, get the right number of zeros in here. That looks like a million. Then we're going to go for the word high. Okay. And I'm then going to do another if. And what I'm going to do is, just because you guys don't need to see me typing badly, the help sometimes isn't helpful. So if it's greater than 100,000, we're going to call it medium. So I'm just typing in getting smaller by a factor of 10 because it kind of works with this data. And then my last option is very low. And then I'm going to close brackets. That's that if, and that if. Okay. And let's press return. Okay, so there we are. I've got my levels of my levels of production. Let's go back to my visualizations. So into here, rather than all these colors, so over in my visualizations pane, I'm going to remove my production. Okay, now instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my calculated column. So there we are. We've got high, low, medium, very low. It's gone alphabetical. I will show you a quick way to fix that in a moment. But here's the different colors. Now, colors are an issue. I'm not a color expert, but I'm going to cheat. So on the view ribbon, here are all the themes you can get. There are various videos out there about creating themes and all sorts of things. Lots of people have put great stuff out there. I'm going to go for this pretty oranges to dark reds. And there we go. We get a set of data. Now it's not quite in the right order that you might want because low's in the wrong place. But if we get time, I'm going to fix that. Okay. But there we are. We've managed to get ourselves a report. Now this report has a really nice feature. Okay, which is this rectangle select. So I'm going to show you how that works. But firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a data card so that I can show you. We can show you what's the production of South America, let's say. So first things first, we're going to create sorry, I'm going to pause at that moment because it's quite a good point to pause. Emma, any questions?
Yes, there are a couple of questions. So someone has asked, can we use a case statement here instead of cascaded ifs?
Yes, so going back to it's not called a case. The other option I could have used here, I'm just going to put it up in the top here, is switch. Okay, so switch, I could have done some things in there as I probably could have done a switch in there to rather. So they're the two options you've got. There. Switch is a little bit odd because you've got to come up with something that's true, and it doesn't do greater than in quite the same way. But there are ways of doing it with switch as well. So yes, that is an alternative option. Okay. If I'd done it in Power Query, I could have done it all in one if as well. Hopefully that answers the question.
Great.
Another question?
Yes, I was going to move on to the next question. You could use the switch formula.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Switch formula is so. Let me just do a very quick. Let me take a minute. Maybe I don't do this. So there we go. So let's bring in switch. And if I had brought in production it's looking for an exact value. I don't think that exact value can be greater than something. No, I don't think it can. So what I would do is a kind of cheat in switch. Okay. And it's quite a nice little clever trick in switch is to actually put the expression as true, okay, which seems a bit bizarre, but then what you do is you then do so I'm just going to show you what. So production greater than, I can't say if that's enough. I'm losing track of zeros in here. That's a million, isn't it? Then the answer is high. Then you would continue down with that as an idea. So I'm just going to show you one more. Let's take that one. I forgot a comma. So that's another way of doing it. I'm just going to put in the low one just for times wise. Okay, and I forgot a comma. If you are, so there we are. We've got our high and low. So possibly that is, and that's possibly a clearer one than that one. I don't know. If someone has a better way of doing that, please reach out to me on Twitter. I'm perfectly happy to discuss. The guys who are superb at DAX are SQLBI. I refer to them as the Italians because it's Marco and Alberto, who do an amazing job. They have some free videos. They regularly put stuff up on YouTube. If you want to learn DAX really well, that's where I would go. How are we doing on questions, Emma?
Good. There's one more that's come through. Also, instead of high, etc., can we use gradient palette to show levels of productions?
Yes, there are ways of doing it. So on here, okay, back onto the map. Using it without, so yes, you could. Let me see. So the way you can find out, the easy way to find out if you can do calculated colors, which is normally conditional formatting, is when you come into here, and I have no idea if I can on this one. No, I can't on this one. So on this, this one, I'll show you one in a moment. This one here, I've got no FX button here. So in here, I can turn around and say, do you know what? I'm going to show high production as dark red. Low production is going to be the very palest color. That's a pretty really revolting set of colors. I'm going to move over to slightly, so, oh, low, I want to be kind of a middle color. And very low, I want to be the palest color I've got. Okay, so I'm just going to make that up into the very dark pink. That's not a very good color. See, I am really bad at colors. So there we are. I've managed to kind of show a gradient. There are different ways of doing it in some of these other reports. There are other map ones that are out there that you can use. So yes, there are ways of doing it so that it reacts better on the colors. Okay. I just want to show you a way of doing. Let me do this. Let me bring in another visual. So if I bring in a stacked bar chart and I bring in country and production, you see you've got all the lines there, and it's done it by the highest one at the top, and that is because of the sort in here. Okay, so that's sorted by production, or I could sort by country, but I'm going to leave it sorted by production for a moment just so I can show you when I come to formatting. If I go to my data colors, there is a little FX button. So if I click the FX button, you can get the color scale. Okay, so I can put whatever color I want to be up here. So let's stick to our delightful pink. And there we are, there's our tea production. And if I then click OK, that is, oops, I've got that wrong. My apologies. Let me go back in and change that. I don't want it count on country. I want it based off production. My apologies. Sum of production. You've got to pick which column it's going to be off. And then I'm going to click OK. And there we are. We get our colors based off it. And we've got a little legend at the top here that shows you we're going from 0 to almost 2 million. You could in there, if you wanted to make that look a little bit tidier, I couldn't up here put the maximum in as a custom number. 2 million and click OK. And there we are. We get our 0 to 2 million that shows us our range of colors. So that's another way of doing it, not on a map. Okay, is that all right with everybody? Any more questions?
No more questions for now.
Okay, I just want to show you. Let me just see if I can convince this. Let me just change that size a little bit. So we'll stick to the bar chart there. Okay, but let me just show you Power BI reacting to things. Okay, now this visual has a lovely feature of the rectangle select. So I'm going to click on there for a second, and then I'm going to pick Africa. So let's see if we can get Mozambique in there without getting. That do it? That's behaved really weirdly. Wow, it's not going to behave. Oh, it is. The colors aren't showing particularly well. Let me just try again. So if I click here. So it is highlighting ones. You can't tell which ones it's highlighted. But let me see if we can change the way this filters. Okay, so it's highlighting rows over here and the other ones have gone pale, although you can't tell particularly well with these colors. Let me show you another way of filtering this. Okay, so I've got my map selected. I click on format and I'm then going to click edit interactions. Okay, let's turn that on. And this will show you how it's going to affect another chart. So up here, we've got don't affect, which is the none. We've got highlight, or we've got filter. Okay, and if I click on filter, there you are. It's now just showing you the African countries we've selected. And so if I unselect, there we are, we get them all. If I select over here, I can then pick South America, and there we are, we get the chart of the South American countries. Okay, so that's a nice feature that comes with this one. Right, so there's to try and show you a different bit of data that we could get from our tea production. Okay, so what I want to move on to is biscuits, because hey, you can't have a cup of tea without biscuits. So I'm going to click onto another page. Let's just quickly go and get a page background. Get us in the mood for biscuits. Turn it off from being transparent. Add some big biscuits. And then do a fit. And they are still pretty big biscuits. And there we are, we've got our biscuits background. So now let's go and have a look at back onto my page. And here is my biscuits data. And we're going to copy that link. Now, it's an Excel file. Back here in Power BI, don't click the Excel button because that's looking for a local Excel file. Okay, I'm looking for an Excel file out on the web. And by the way, out on the web includes SharePoint and OneDrive. So if you've got a SharePoint or OneDrive path, use the web. Okay, and then put in that path. Make sure that the end of your URL just has the XLSX. Pardon me, sorry. On the end, rather than any extras, question mark, blah, 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 lose those, okay? And then click OK. Patrick at Gynacube, who are, let's give me an error. Let's see. Oh, there we are. It's not giving me an error. Who are the YouTube guys about Power BI. They do an awesome job. They do it in their spare time. Okay, although they work for Microsoft, they do it all in their spare time. And do hilarious live sessions on Saturdays and things like that. Well, there's a great Power BI community. So here we are. We've got a list of some people, what their age is, and up to 3 types of biscuit they like. Okay, so Carly there only likes ginger snaps, no others. Whereas Josephine there likes hobnobs and jammy dodgers. So I've got things separated by semicolons in there. I need to clear that up. So we're going to go to transform data. Wow, I'm looking at the time, realizing we're going to have to do this at reasonable speed, guys. Yeah, again, I'm trying to do too much again, Emma. So here we are. We've got my data. I've got my 3 steps that have been applied, which is going to my Excel file, navigating to the right table, and changing types. So that all my columns have got types. Okay. And I'm going to rename that table 1 to biscuit sauce. Okay. So there's 2 bits of data in here. One is the people and their information, and the other is which biscuits they like. So we're going to separate those into 2. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, firstly, I'm going to add in an index column so that I've got a number for every row. So we're going to go for an add column at the top here. And you'll see there's an index column. And you can either start from 0 or from 1. And there you are, it's added an index down the end. And just so that it looks right in my head, I'm going to drag that. So that's a click and a drag to be the front. And you'll see over here on the steps, I've got added index and reordered columns have been added. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 tables of this. Okay. So the first one, I'm going to do a right click and I'm going to go reference. So this table is going to be the people table, just the information about the people. So the only thing we're going to do to this one is we're going to go to our choose columns, which is on the home ribbon, and take off biscuits. So there we are, there's my people data. Back to my biscuit source, I'm going to right click on that again, and I'm going to do another reference. Okay, so the step here says basically get data from that other query. And then this one, we don't want the people data. So I'm going to go to, on the home ribbon again, I'm going to choose columns. And I'm going to take out all the bits about people. I'm going to keep index and I'm going to keep biscuits. So here we are, here's my biscuit data. I want this separated into separate rows so that I end up with 1 custard cream, 1 chocolate digestive, 1 ginger snaps, and then 2 da 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 da. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the biscuits column and we're going to go for a split column, right? Split column can be done in lots of different ways, but a by delimiter means there's a character you're going to split on. So that's what we're going to go for. And it guesses, okay? And actually it's not bad at guessing quite often. So there's my semicolon. And we want to split for every semicolon there is. What that will do, if I just leave it like that, is it will create me 3 columns. Well, I don't want that. I want 3 rows if I need 3 rows. So under advanced options, split into columns or rows. So I'm going to split into rows. And then I'm going to click OK. So there we are. I've got my index and I've got my biscuits. Okay, all the way through. And there we go, all the way down to all my people. Okay, I had 1,000 people, by the way. So this one here, I'm going to put into like biscuits. Not a good title, but hey, it'll do. Both my columns have data types. Now, the biscuit source, they don't need to see. Okay, so I'm going to do a right click on it and I'm going to turn off the enable load. It'll get refreshed. That's what the second one is. I'm just going to untick that one. Okay, Now, before I just do my close and apply, I just want to show you one more thing. Under View, if I go to Query Dependencies, there you are. It shows you that I've got a website going into production, which is loaded. I've got something on the web going into Biscuit source, which is not loaded. But then, oh, it says not loaded on those as well. Oh, that means they haven't been loaded. Okay, so they haven't been loaded yet. And that one, the load is disabled. So let's click close. People are getting very excited about in data flows. There's a better version of that, and hopefully it will come to Power Query. Hopefully. So let's go to the home ribbon and close and apply. And just while we're waiting for that to come, Emma, any questions?
There is a question from Zabine saying, would you import the Biscuit data and combine?
Would you import the Biscuit data and combine? You could import the Biscuits and combine. But yes, there are times when actually you would go for the raw as well as the final tables. But most of the time I'm not. Most of the time I have my queries that prep and then I have my final outputs. Okay, so I want it that I've only got these two little tables like Biscuits and people rather than the raw data. Okay, so you could, but I wouldn't normally because I want this part to be as small as possible. So I've got two tables, my like Biscuits and my people. We're going to go to into here and you'll see it worked out a relationship. Okay, so I've got my people here and I've got that. If I hover my mouse over that line, you can see it highlights the index and the index. Now, while we're here, this upgrade to the new model. Okay, it's a new feature. It's only just come in. If you click upgrade now, okay, so it's got grey bars, etc., etc. If I click upgrade now, you get this new look. You can't unupgrade. Okay, there's no way of going backwards. And there's some properties about your view. You can pin, so you can do some pin key fields on the tops of cards. And so when you've got huge big tables, what we can do is we can collapse these down to make some pictures a lot simpler. So that one's got no key fields. It's not connected to anything, so it's got nothing that's a key field. But in here, it's showing you the index on both sides. Okay. Also, alphabetically, index is at the top. That key index appears alphabetically. Okay. So for those of us that deal with some tables that have 20 or 30 columns, this is such a huge update. It's brilliant. Okay, so I can do these, so I can make my complicated maps a lot simpler like this. Okay, so now let's get back into my visuals. So wait a minute, we've got people that like Biscuits and I've got age of people. That's fine. And I can use this data to filter this data. That little arrow is the way I can filter. Okay, so I am going to start with creating a new measure. And let's just do another zoom in there. So people who like the biscuit we've chosen. Okay, so we're going to enter here. We're going to put in a function that I'm going to put in as a count. And I'm going to put in, so it's people that like them. So let's count the indexes from they like Biscuits. That index is a person index. Should have renamed it really. Okay, so that's created me a measure. And you'll see over here on the right hand side, you can see it's there and it's got a little calculator next to it. That symbol there means it's a calculated column. Okay, so these symbols mean things, so you need to understand and work out how they work. So what I'm going to do is let's go for a simple bar chart. And I'm going to put into there the type of biscuit. And I'm going to put in people who like that biscuit. So put that in as the values. Okay, so there we are. There's my chart. Now, it's been sorted by amounts, as we mentioned before, and I can change that to say, let's sort by the biscuit. So there we are. Oh, and it's in reverse. So let's go on those 3 dots again, and let's sort ascending. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a couple of things. Let's go for bringing in a card. And what I'm going to do is we're going to put a measure onto that card. So if I go for that measure, people who like. Okay, so there we have that. There's a total of 2,639 of people who like, who put preferences that have been put in. Okay, but if I do another new measure, now I do everything by measures so that the text down here appears right. I don't have to rename things. And actually, if you get into the practice of creating measures, you'll be life becomes a lot easier. So I'm just going to count people. Okay. So let's go for a distinct count. So how many unique people are there on the that have shown a preference? Okay, so there might be some people that haven't. Okay, so we can then press return on there, and let's add in another card. And I'm going to put into that. So there are my 1,000 people. Every person has expressed a preference in biscuits. Okay, if I click on my chart here, so Jammy Dodgers, there you are. Now it's interesting that you could people who like unique people are going to be the same because I've only picked one type of biscuit. But if I go and pick Jammy Dodgers and chocolate digestives, you'll see there's 966 in total of those two columns added together. But out of that, there's only 782 unique people, as in there are some people who like both, like me. Okay. My husband's quite upset that chocolate fingers didn't win. But there we are. We can use our filters in here like this to work it out. Now the other question we had was related to age. So I'm just going to do that, and I am very aware we've come to 5 o'clock. I'm going to do 5 more minutes if that's okay. Emma knows me too well, so I'm hoping she's not surprised. I'm adding a slicer, okay, and into that slicer, I'm going to bring in the age of people, and because it's a number column, you get this lovely slicer that's got handles. So I can turn around and say, well, let's go for people 18 to 30. And you see that we've got 223 people, and they've got this many preferences, and we've got our profile there of how that works. And let's go and have a look at, I didn't slant this data to be dramatic. Didn't rely on random data totally. But you can see as you move that, the lines move and it recalculates. Okay. So I've got my pages here. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple of things before I show you publishing it. So what I'm just going to do on here is I'm going to double click on this bottom part here, and I'm going to put in T. I'm going to double click on page 2, and I'm going to put in biscuits. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on T. If you need to be on the page you expect people to be on, and no filters to be applied. Okay, so make sure that your filter over here shows what you want it to show. Do you want it to show the whole the whole range, okay? And then we're going to save. Let's just call it T. So you save a copy local, okay, or wherever. And then I'm going to click Publish on the home ribbon. And let's put it into alpha. Sorry, I should have said that was a list of all my workspaces that I could publish into. And according to how many workspaces you've got access to is where you'll be able to publish. If you don't have a pro license, you will only be able to publish into my workspace. Okay, so I don't think I've got a window open for this, so I'm just going to quickly open a window. I'm hoping that's logged in as the right thing. That looks right. That looks like the right workspace. So I always go to office.com and there is Power BI. How are we doing on questions?
Good. We've had one come through from Fernando asking, could you do a quick histogram?
Could I do a quick histogram? You mean a column chart? Yes, I can do a quick histogram. I didn't want my workspace. I wanted alpha. I can do you a quick histogram. I'm just trying to work out what we're looking for there. Let me think on it. Do you mean a column chart? Can whoever asked the question, can they just give me some clarification? So just while that's coming through, let me just talk about what's published here. So I've gone to my workspace, okay? I've logged on, I've moved to my workspace. In the top right-hand corner here, there's a search box. So I've searched for my file and there it is. So you get two parts. You get a data set and you get a report. And if I click into my report, there it is. There's my report. Your tabs are up on the left-hand side that you can navigate through, okay? And you can see how it works, right? The time it takes a page to appear is dependent upon some of the things that's happening in the back. So if you've got one that takes forever, you need to go and have a look at SQL BI guys and Chris Webb. They've got some very good things on how that works, how to speed that up. So if I go back into the workspace for a sec, and it's forgotten my search. That's a shame. This workspace here, if I click into more options and go to settings, okay, it's going to ask me for scheduled refresh. Oh, that's grayed out. Why is that grayed out? Why is that grayed out? That should not be grayed out. I should be able to put it in. Okay, let me go and check. So let's go back into here. And what I'm going to go and do is on my view, I'm going to go to lineage. And I'm again going to search for T. And there we are. It's not showing me why I can't get to. So I've just pressed the refresh button to see if it will refresh. It thinks I'm using personal something. And I'm not, my apologies, I don't know why that's misbehaving. So it thinks I'm using a local file for something. So it's one of, it's looking for a gateway to get to my data, but all of my data I think is remote, is online, so therefore I shouldn't have that come through. I don't know why that's not working. I shouldn't need a gateway. So my apologies. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you fixing that refresh without going backwards, and I'm already running late. So I'm not going to show you that, but I will put together why that's not worked and put out a tweet regarding it. So coming back to your question, so that's why that's not refreshing. Okay, guys, the reason is it thinks there's something local. Sorry, not that one. I didn't want that one. I wanted T. Did I just refresh the wrong one? Yeah, no, I didn't refresh the wrong one. So it's got something. Something's going on with regards to my credentials, and I need to go and fix that one. It's obviously being bizarre. So my apologies on that. I won't be, but that's where you should go into. So if I go back to one that I can refresh, Reactor, whether I can't remember if I can on that one or not. Titanic, I probably can. So in here you'd have, so this one is an example. You have to come in sometimes to data source and edit the credentials, and once you come into here I can say it's anonymous, which is what I was expecting it to say this time. It's public data, it's anonymous, so therefore it's public data. And then I can come into my scheduled refresh, turn the on, and pick the times of day or days of the week that I want it to happen on and what time I'd like it to happen. So let's go for 6 a.m. and click apply. And that means that that Titanic one will refresh Monday to Saturday at 6 a.m. Okay, so Emma, coming back to our histogram. Did you get a clarification?
Yes. So, well, I got another comment from Fernando to say with ages. When I asked you mean a column chart?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's just do. So I'm going to put it on a blank page. So if we go for columns, so there's a couple of ways of doing this. I could put in ages as the axis, and then put in the number of people who like biscuits as the values. Okay, and there you are. You end up with a histogram that's got lots of columns because it's doing every single one. Okay, but you could, in that instead, if you wanted it kind of by age range, I could come back into my people data. So I've just clicked into data and I've come back to people. Okay, and I go for a new column. And I'm just going to call this age band. And I'm going to use the floor function to round the, oh, you can't click in it, Laura. You can't do that. Wow. To round the age to the lowest, so a significance of 10. So they all get put down to, they get rounded downwards to 10s. Okay, so there I get a whole bunch. So which decade of their life are they in? So I can then come back into here and take out age and put in age band instead. And there we are. We get a, so you can work out, it will put in as many columns as you have different values. Okay, so you've got to work out what you would like there. And there we are. We can see that our 30-year-olds, we asked more 30-year-olds than we are 70-year-olds, or I think we only asked adults. is what I was pretending. So I've got 100. And when you hover over it, you can see how many people are in those columns. And we can do other things, like we can bring in, as the legend, we can bring in the biscuits. So that's a stacked column. So that's clustered columns. So there are different columns for every biscuit. Or we can make that a stacked variety of it to make it, they are pretty stripy ones, to show that we can see that shortbread at the top. And it seems 60-year-olds like shortbread. Okay, and you can pick these ones to filter it in the different ways. Let's pick one that actually makes more obvious. So there we go. There's all the hobnobs, etc. Or I could pick an age band. Okay, I can't. It's not going to let me pick an age band. So if I could pick an individual one as well. Okay. Is that? Hopefully that answers that question. Any more questions?
A last question has come through. Will recording be made available? It will. This is being recorded and will go on to the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. I put a link at the beginning of the session. I'll just reshare it now. And also, will the files be made available to follow along?
So the data is already on my webpage. Okay, the data source is there. I will take this PBIX and I will save it into a place that you can download as well. And I'll also pick a set of videos that cover the topics we've done, and I will put them onto the blog link, into my blog post as well. And also, once Emma has put the link up to Reactor, I will put the link to that into my page. If you look at last month's, was last month the Titanic? Did we do Titanic last month? I think we did.
That's right, we did, yeah.
I've got a blog post about the Titanic in there, and I've got the Reactor, and then I've got all the links that go with it. So I try to do that every month, okay, so that we've got links that go with it, so that whether they're my blog posts, my videos, or somebody else's, is what we put into there, okay. And next month, I haven't got a date for it yet because Emma and I haven't worked out a date yet. We're going to do Christmas Carol text analysis as something different for preparation for Christmas. Okay, any more questions?
No, I think that's about it.
I will put out links to my blog post on Twitter as soon as I'm finished here.
Brilliant, Laura, thank you so much. It's been great to have you again. Thank you for today's session, and thank you to everyone for attending today, for all of your questions and comments throughout. And we will post the next session very shortly of the Christmas carols. You'll see that on the Reactor London meetup group very soon. So hope to see you all then, and thank you again. Enjoy your evening.
Take care now.